Okay, here's one of the things that I do, and this kind of opens up a topic of conversation that I know we're going to want to get into today. So I use my AquaTrue system. I have the most pure water that I could be drinking coming out of there. However, it has stripped, if there was any, I mean, with municipal water, it's probably not much in there anyway, but it stripped kind of the mineral content from the water. Do I need to be adding stuff back in? And I'll tell you what I do.
I'm glad you said that, and I'd just like to say this first. In general, the mineral content of waters across the United States varies so greatly, it's irrelevant to consider it as a contribution to your health.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Really. I mean, there may be some places that have a perfect blend of minerals, but even more important point to make is that, remember, we're talking not just minerals that everyone is familiar with, like, calcium, magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, iron, blah, blah, blah. We're not just talking about those. We're talking about the 70 plus trace elements. Most people couldn't even name 3 of them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, yeah, actually name some for us. What are some trace elements that people may or may not be familiar with that are fundamental or the foundation of health?
Well, I mean, like selenium, okay?
Right. Yes.
Cobalt,
that's a huge one.
Okay. I mean, there's just, there's 70. And so the point is this. Here, I'm going to, take another step back. And this is for doctors who may be listening. Listen, the most frustrating thing I cannot get through to doctors in the 16 years I've taught this subject is that one, recognize that life emerged in the ocean, often called in science the primordial ocean. Then I ask doctors, what is the ocean? No one has answered it in 16 years correctly, what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, the ocean is so unique because it's a solution of the entire periodic table of the elements.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what a place for life to start. Something as neat as life, where you had everything that the universe had to offer in one place. And then, more incredible than emerging in the ocean is that life, and this is what caused me, I almost fell over when I realized this, life spent uniquely, exclusively, 2.5 billion years in that solution before it left it. All species, plant, animal, bacteria, giraffes, mushrooms, all spent 2.5 billion years. And I asked doctors, could you think of anything that might have determined the design, the structure, and function of life more than the ocean? I mean, it owned it. And do you think that you can separate life from what was provided by the ocean? Like all of a sudden, just like, oh, we left the ocean and we're now evolving on the land. Where are you getting it? Well, early life did have it from the soil, but you aren't getting any of it now.
Yeah.
Of the 70 plus elements and minerals and trace elements, you would be hard pressed to find more than 15 or 20 if you did a mass spec analysis of someone's blood plasma.
That's really scary if you think about it. And really, if we're talking about minerals and trace elements being the foundation of health, then how are we replenishing these? So if we're looking at kind of our soil composition, I mean, our soil, and even with kind of more sustainable foods that we're eating, has been stripped still from a lot of these minerals and trace elements that we would get. And so what is the way to re-mineralize and to include these trace elements? So what is your go-to there, Robert?
My go-to is there's a grand scheme go-to and there's a practical immediate go-to.
Mm-hmm.
The grand scheme go-to is beautifully handled by the brilliant scientist August Dunning.
Mm-hmm.
Professor August Dunning spent much of his career at Caltech. He is an astrophysicist, and he is one of the designers of the amazing International Space Station. But somewhere along the line, he had like an enlightened time in which he realized and put together the fact the loss of minerals and trace elements in the soil absolutely corresponds with the increase of chronic disease from 1900 to present day. And please put on your podcast notes for everyone to look up Habitat Crisis by August Dunning. It's a presentation. There's a live one, and if you're lucky, you can find the one that has the slides on it.
Okay. I'll look it up and try to link it.
If you can't find the slides, you must see them. I must send them to you.
Okay. I'd love it. I'll look for it, and I'll have my team look for it. But if we can't find it, I'm going to reach back out to you.
Very good. So he became so and this same position about the need for minerals and trace elements in all life was actually read into Congress in 1925 by another astute doctor. He got it. He realized that this loss, this gradually growing loss, and it wasn't even half as bad as it is today, he read into Congress a letter that said, if we don't pay attention to this, we're going to degrade our entire population, blah, blah, blah. And, it just went and nobody even thought about it. And I guess nobody even thinks about it now. It's perhaps the most important thing for a doctor to know. And this past weekend, there was a couple of practitioners who literally put palm up to their forehead like, oh, my God, I get it. So August Dunning actually started a company. There's several in the world that simply concentrate seawater and they sell it to agriculture. To literally spray
the fields
as you would have fertilizer on the fields. And, it's going to take 200 years. But, okay, cool. Go for it.
Yeah.
But I say, listen, in the meantime, everyone, before your broccoli comes back with at least 40 or 50 trace elements in it, here's what to do. I have a favorite substance that I discovered in Brazil, which I consider saved my life, called Canton. If you're from London, Quinton, okay? Marine plasma. And this is a product that most of its history was a medicine, okay?
Yeah.
And it still is a medicine, but now we've discovered, because of our crisis, that this is the ultimate mineral and trace element supplement.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the Hanu Health Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. This podcast would not happen without listeners and supporters like you. And the best way to support us and the show is to head on over to iTunes and provide us with a 5-star review. This helps us reach others and spread the good word of breathing and stress resiliency. If we read your 5-star review on air, please reach out to podcast@hanuhealth.com with your name and mailing address, and we will send you some sweet Hanu gear. Until next time, breathe better and stress less.